So the algae or the bryopsis is turning white. Okay, so let's go down here. I don't know if you can see it. The coloring is a little off. Let me see if I can take the, still not very good. It's hard to see it in person, but if I can get in here, let's see. It's turning white. All of it's turning white. So the algae itself, I'm going over here in this section. Thank you. Nope, get away. It's turning white. My chrysophys are not depleting. Now, they're growing back slower. I will say that. I think I've noticed that because this area here that I had siphoned out last week in my last post just didn't grow back voraciously immediately like the day after. But it is growing back, and you can see the sand bed is still covered in it. Okay, so what does this mean? All right, so I've got a couple of things. I have the UV still running. I never turned that off. I dosed Fluconazole, right? So I did the full amount plus one extra capsule. And I left my skimmer off for 3 days, exactly 3 days. So that's like 72 hours. And then I think I waited a couple more hours and I turned it back on. And I didn't skim that first night to the point where it was actually producing skimmate into the cup. I lowered it down so that it was just producing the oxygen and increasing my pH again. I did start, and I was contemplating this in my R2R, in my reef-to-reef thread, adding some H2O2. Why do I want to do that? Well, I noticed my ORP was going down. Now there's a few, again, I'm hypothesizing. One, there's die-off, the algae die-off from the fluconazole, even though I couldn't see it immediately, was pushing the ORP down. And one of the things that fluconazole does, just from reading some documentation, is it weakens the cell walls of algae cells, right? I started doing my 1 ml per 10 gallon dosing of H2O2 at night to increase the ORP. Now, what I found interesting was that the ORP does go up in the nighttime, but not as fast as it was prior to introducing fluconazole, where I was doing H2O2 for about 10 days prior to doing the fluconazole treatment, hoping that it would have an impact on the chrysos down here. So that did not occur, right? There was no effect on anything actually, except the ORP. The ORP was going way up. It was reaching a high of like 290 on my ORP probe. Again, I am relying on that ORP probe, just looking at trend analysis. It's a couple of years old, so hopefully it's giving me good readings. In any case, though, I have noticed fluconazole introduction has dropped ORP slowly, so it was down to like 250. And increasing it back up with H2O2 again has only increased it by maybe 10 millivolts. When I introduced H2O2 at night, when before, sometimes it would go 20 millivolts higher, right? So there was something suppressing the ORP even with the H2O2 introduction, meaning there probably is die-off, right? So something is happening in the tank, which, as I can see today, algae, the bryopsis, is turning white. Unfortunately, I see this maybe slowing down, and maybe there are white patches that are forming here for the golden algae, or the chrysophytes or chrysos, but I still see it. It's still there. So now I don't know. I'm gonna still wait out. Maybe it takes longer, right? I'm not seeing any ill effects on any of the coral or fish, but yeah, I'm not sure. So here's the other thing too. So if I go to this side of the tank, I notice this side of the tank is very clear. Now there was chrysos in here, so maybe something is happening. I did clean out my vortex. The MP60s are pushing a lot of flow. So that might be how helping this area. I'm getting a replacement from Coral View for my 330. So I'm gonna have 2 of those back in the tank on this side. And my plan is to take a MP60 and mount it over here, just so I don't have this issue where the cord is lifting my lid up. I do have a 6-line wrasse, and I don't want to lose him. He's working out great with my checkerboard wrasse, who is turning into a giant fish. But in any case, so I'm going to have the MP60 here. I have the Nero 7 there, and I'll have the 2 330s pushing water, and I think that's a lot of flow, and that should be good. And the MP60 should be able to really get this side going. That's my plan. I think that's going to work out. The other thing I noticed, and this is, again, sorry for the rambling video. So I have 5 urchins in the tank. I have 3 pin cushions, and I've got 2 pencil urchins. You can see, well, let me see if I can get into one. There's one right there. Back, if I can get focus on that. I have noticed them on the rockwork more, as if they are eating something. So maybe the algae cells have broken down so much that now possibly it's palatable to them, the bryopsis. I'm not sure. So I'm gonna go back out. Trying to think what else. Yeah, so I still have all this down here. Algae is starting to die off. So the 2 live rocks, I've noticed, you can see here, one of the Tampa Bay live rocks. The coral, I think this is a tubinaria. I'm so bad with names. It's doing healthy. Got similar ones here. It's doing healthy. And now that there's so much space, I saw that urchin just going all along here and kind of cleared out this area. So something has changed in how the urchin is able to devour this stuff. Going over here, and polyps are not extended on either of these 2 corals, which used to have extended polyps, although I do see some. This one does have polyps, but they're just kind of like, you know, they're just not really there. Let me see this guy. Same thing, just kind of, they're not really flowing in the water. The stylo's fine. The zoas who were closed up, this patch of zoas, they're fully opened now and kind of really just happy. I'm not sure why. I seem to have more heads of candy canes appearing. So something is definitely, I don't know, changing in the tank. I do have an ICP that hopefully Fauna Marin should be getting in a few days, and I should hopefully get an email from them to see what the results are by this weekend or next week. And that should tell me kind of what the situation is currently with my tank in terms of elements, and see where that is. But in any case, this is the current status of the tank. The other thing I'm thinking about is maybe now's the time to introduce some sand sifting starfish, because they might eat this. I know they really just eat bacterial film and microfauna, but I'm wondering if they'll eat this chrysophytes. I want to try that. I might get a couple of them this weekend and see if they actually do start to clear this up, or at least start sifting through the sand. My nutrients are really weird. So my phosphates are at 0. So I've been actually making a concoction of Benepets and some probiotics and some aminos, and letting that sit in a cup, and then just squirt out a little bit throughout the day, maybe 3 times a day in here. I've noticed has increased my pod population, so which is good, and that might be what's happening to help clear this out. Not sure, but I'm going to keep doing that because I don't like it at 0. I did order Phosphede by Tropic Marin, so I can add that into the tank to kind of slowly bring it up. I like it at 0.1 because my nitrates, if my phosphates are at 0.1, my nitrates right now are between 25 and 35. So I like to keep it at 20, and I would like my phosphates at 0.1. Slow progress, and I think something is happening. And I think it's working, man, it's working. So something is going on. So it's taken about a week. But it's, yeah, you can see it. You can see all white. It's turning, which is great. Okay, so that's my current update. And I'll do another update in about a week, see where it's at that point.